Howdy mates, how are we doing? Good noon time. Here's a part 2 video. This is just another tributary that is along the Peace River. A little calmer back here, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about boats coming through. Funny thing, there was a little spot where the airboat was actually going to go the same path that I was going. And I had a little panic moment, like, oh shit. Like, forgive my cursing, but it was that kind of moment, like, oh boy, this is gonna be interesting. But fortunately, they saw me and they just simply turned around. So, good on their part to recognize the fact that I'm on a kayak, and if they passed me, I would literally be blown away. No pun intended. But my goodness, it is so peaceful out here. And actually, to my left, right up there, is actually I believe that's an Osprey Nest. So, it's quite surprising because osprey, they usually like to be a little closer to the ocean. So it's quite surprising to see that they're this far inland, because we're not quite by the ocean right now. We're in DeSoto County, so like we're getting up a little closer to Arcadia, you could say. But as I mentioned in my last video, to my right here is red maple. And a way for you to know if you are looking at red maple is you have to look at the leaf. So I don't think you can see it as well as I can, but if you look carefully enough, there are indeed 3 points to a red maple leaf. Whereas if you were looking at something, say, like a sugar maple, for instance, it has 5 points. And then a silver maple, on the other hand, the underside of the leaf is typically kind of like a silver, hence the name. And the bark is a lot lighter gray. And the leaves are a lot more what you call slender, so it doesn't take up as much like surface area. So that's a good way for you to know. And it's crazy, like, considering that we are still in South Florida, just to see the amount of red maples here, because those are a deciduous tree, that which means that they will eventually lose their leaves, and they're bare for a time, so the chlorophyll is stored in the heartwood, and once it approaches, say springtime, that's when the leaves begin to regrow. So I'm kind of under the impression that down here, they lose their leaves and then they probably just immediately regrow. Give me a second, you guys. I need to turn around. There we go. Finally had a chance to turn around. So, another common plant that you'll see out here is, looking to my left. This is what I just pointed out when I was talking about the red maple. But you look beyond the red maple and you got that plant right there. That is actually something called a leather fern. And they're actually known to be some of the largest ferns in the world. And in a sense, they are some of the oldest known too. Because ferns, they typically take a while to grow. So with that being said, the Peace River is by far recognized as one of the oldest rivers in Florida. As many of you, I'm sure, well know, the river is known to have fossils from the Pleistocene epoch, which was roughly 2 million years ago. Like I said, I'll be sure to clarify the exact dates, because that, I mean, it's like with the geologic time scale, the years are always in decimals. There's never like a whole integer that it's listed as, so they just make it more confusing and harder to understand. But I'm going to say approximately 2 million years ago was the Pleistocene epoch, which was around the time when the last ice age happened. So it's been known that the Peace River has contained mammoth fossils. So, going back on the subject of the leather ferns, all spread throughout here, they've been there for a hot minute. And ferns are recognized to be some of the oldest types of plants in existence. They even existed before trees. So, you figure relatives of these leather ferns once cohabitated with the dinosaurs, too. Even the water that I am paddling in was probably at one point drank by dinosaurs. Because that's the thing about water, is there's no such thing as new water. You can't create new water. All water in this world remains the same. So that's why it's important to have an understanding of the hydrologic cycle. So like you got some terms like evaporation, transpiration, rain or precipitation, which is rain, runoff, rivers. It's all interconnected. Water is always recycled. So that's why at some point, the very water that we could have drank this morning could have at one point been drank by a T-Rex. So I know to some of you it may sound, unbelievable, but it's the facts, mates. So, all right, you guys, take care. Enjoy your Sunday. Hope you learned something of value, and thanks for watching. Take care, you guys. See ya. Just a moment for viewing. See ya, peeps.